According to the legend, Taka Taka was a young girl who fell onto the train tracks and was cut in half by a passing train. The name Taka Taka comes from the sound that her upper body makes as she drags herself along with her hands, making a Taka Taka sound. Some versions of the story say that she was pushed onto the tracks by a group of bullies, while others say that she was attempting suicide. In some other versions of the legend, Taka Taka is portrayed as seeking revenge against those who wronged her in life. In appearance, Taka Taka is often described as having long black hair, pale skin, and wearing a white or red dress. She is always seen dragging her upper body along the ground with her arms, leaving a trail of blood behind her. Her lower half is said to have been replaced with a sharp blade, which she uses to cut down her victims. In some versions of the legend, she is also said to carry a weapon such as a scythe or a saw. The legend varies slightly in different parts of Japan, but the basic story is that if you are alone in a long corridor at night and hear the sound of something dragging itself along, you should not look back, as it may be Taka Taka. If you do see her, she will chase after you and try to cut you in half with the scythe or saw. This legend is particularly frightening because of the way in which she moves. The sound of her dragging herself along the ground with her arms is said to be quite distinctive, and many people who have claimed to have encountered her describe feeling a sense of terror as soon as they hear it. Some versions of the legend say that Taka Taka is attracted to the sound of footsteps, and will follow the sound until she finds her victim. There are several ways in which to try to protect yourself from Taka Taka. Some versions of the legend suggest that if you hear her approaching, you should lay down and remain completely still, as she may not see you if you are lying flat on the ground. Others say that if you are in a long corridor and suspect that she is nearby, you should run to the end of the corridor and exit the building as quickly as possible. However, if you do encounter Taka Taka, it is said that the only way to survive is to outrun her and escape. The legend of Taka Taka has become popular in Japanese horror films and manga, and has also inspired adaptations in other countries. It is a well-known and frightening urban legend that has been passed down for generations in Japan. Kuchisake Anna, also known as the Slit-Mouthed Woman, is a popular Japanese urban legend that has been around for many years. The story goes that there was a woman who was extremely beautiful, but vain and shallow. One day, she was caught cheating on her husband, who in a fit of rage, slashed her mouth from ear to ear with a knife, leaving her disfigured and scarred for life. After the attack, the woman began wearing a surgical mask to cover her scars, and would often approach people on the street, asking them if she was beautiful. If the person answered yes, she would remove her mask to reveal her mutilated face, and ask again. If the person answered no, she would kill them with a pair of scissors that she carried with her at all times. The legend of Kuchisake Anna has evolved over time, with different variations of the story being told throughout Japan. Kuchisake Anna is said to be a vengeful ghost who haunts the streets at night, or she is portrayed as a demon who preys on the souls of the living. The legend has become so ingrained in Japanese culture that there have been reported sightings of her over the years. People have claimed to see her walking alone on deserted streets at night, or standing silently at the edge of forests. Some have even reported being approached by a woman wearing a surgical mask and carrying a pair of scissors, who matches the description of Kuchisake Anna. One sublegend suggests that her husband was actually a samurai, and that he was so ashamed of his wife's infidelity that he attacked her with a sword, leaving her with a long, gaping wound on her face. Another version of the legend suggests that she was actually a woman who died in a traffic accident, and her spirit has been wandering the streets ever since. In some regions of Japan, it is believed that Kuchisake Anna can be warded off by throwing salt or soybeans at her. In other regions, it is believed that chanting a particular phrase or incantation can protect you from her attacks. However, there is no guaranteed way to avoid encountering her. One particularly creepy aspect of her legend is that one story suggests that she targets children, particularly those who are walking alone or playing outside after dark. This has led to a widespread fear of kuchi sakeana among Japanese children, who are often warned not to talk to strangers or wander off alone at night. In recent years, her legend has been the subject of numerous horror films, TV shows, and video games, cementing her place in Japanese popular culture as one of the scariest urban legends of all time. The Nopelabo is a legendary figure that is said to have no facial features whatsoever, appearing as a completely blank slate. According to the legend, the Nopelabo appears to unsuspecting individuals at night, often in isolated areas such as deserted roads or dark forests. It typically appears to be a friendly person at first, engaging the victim in conversation and even offering them help or guidance. However, as the conversation progresses, the victim gradually realizes that there is something off about the Nopelabo, namely, the fact that they have no face. This realization often causes the victim to panic and flee, but it never pursues them or causes them harm. While the origins of the legend are unclear, there are several theories as to what inspired the story. One theory suggests that the legend may have been inspired by cases of people with severe facial disfigurements who were shunned by society and forced to hide their faces. Another theory suggests that the Nopelabo may be a representation of the Buddhist concept of mu, which translates to nothingness or emptiness. In modern times, the legend has been the subject of numerous horror stories, movies, and video games. The eerie and mysterious figure of the faceless ghost continues to captivate the imaginations of people in Japan and beyond, and remains one of the most enduring and enigmatic figures in Japanese folklore. Please support me by smashing the like button and subscribing to my channel. Turn on all notifications for new upcoming videos.